Hello, my name is Sume McPhail and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Wequel School. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how you can make a profiles Flutter app and learn a lot of different Flutter skills along the way. We provide Flutter classes every Monday through Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, which you can sign up for at wequel.school. So let's get started, and the first thing that I'm just going to show you is what the end product is going to look like. And it's basically going to look something like this, where it's just like showing a profile page for your Flutter app, and it's just going to show these random people that I found on Google, and then just display their name and their title. So now the first thing you are going to have to do is to create your Flutter project. So the way you're going to do this is by going to your terminal and then changing the directory to your desktop. So basically, for those of you who don't know, CD desktop, CD stands for change directory, and desktop is just where I want to save my Flutter project. So once I've changed the directory to desktop, just say Flutter create, and then whatever you want to name your project. So I'll just say profile app. So now I'm going to be using Visual Studio Code, but the code should be pretty much the same for Android Studios as well, or whatever other code editor that you're using. So I'm going to now open my Flutter project. So now that we have that open, I will go into the lib folder, which is going to hold all of my Flutter code. And so now if I run this, I'm just going to open up my simulator and then run this by going to run and saying run without debugging. Okay, so now that it is done running, you can see that we have our default Flutter app, where basically you just push this button and the number increments by 1. And so now what we want to do is we want to start creating the profiles and the profile page. So I'm going to make a new .dart file, and we can just call this profiles.dart, and then start creating our page. So now the first thing you always want to do is import material.dart, and then you can go stles and then hit the tab button, and this just gives you the stateless widget framework. If you don't know what that is, you need to you can go back and watch my Flutter Basics video. So we'll just say call this profiles, and then instead of a container, we're going to use a scaffold and create an app bar. But right now I'm just going to leave this blank because we want to just change the screen that we're displaying to our profiles page. Okay, there we go. And so now, since we're not actually using this default Flutter app page, we can delete this. And now, as you can see, if I go to the end product of what we're building, you can see that it is like a kind of a dark background, and you could do basically the same thing just by changing the color of the app bar, but you can do this way easier with theme data. And basically what theme data is, it just allows you to have like a uniform UI throughout your entire app just by changing just a few lines of code. Automatically it will already have a theme data property, and that's the code that I just deleted, which is the theme, like the default theme data that pops up. In theme data, you can use the property brightness and then call theme, and then you can call brightness dark, and this will automatically give you a dark app bar and a dark background for your app. So if I refresh this, now you can see it will display our profiles page on profiles.dart and the app bar, and since we don't have anything, this is just what we have so far. So now go back to profiles.dart and we can start building out the page. So in app bar, we just have a title with a text widget that says meet our team. As you can see, so if we refresh this, now it says meet our team. So now let's create our body property, and the body is going to be a grid view dot count. And so the cross axis count is basically how many boxes is going to be like across the screen. So basically a grid view is something that allows you to have like a grid of something. I actually have a separate video talking about what grid view is and how you can use it, that I will put in the description and just make a little pop-up so you can go click on that. But essentially the cross axis count is just like how many boxes is going to be across. It's like a grid. And we're just going to make this 2. As you can see, there's going to be 2 people. And now we can start building the actual, like, just the profiles. And so what we're going to use is we're going to use a custom widget, which I also explained in my Flutter Basics video. And basically this is like, basically you're building your own widget essentially, and kind of like making your own properties of what needs to go into that widget. And so what we're going to do is we're going to create, let me keep this override here. I'm going to say widget, and I'm going to call the widget profile, and then the container. Okay, so now I just created our widget profile, and then inside here, this is going to be basically the properties, the data that we need in order to create this profile. It's kind of like a required property inside a widget. So we're going to have several things: string, the name of the person, the title, and the image. This is just going to be the image path, so that it knows where to find the image. So within this container, I am going to have a column. And the first child will be an image. It will be a circle avatar because we need the image to be in a circular shape. And so the child, sometimes I've made this mistake before. You will go image.asset. Instead of child, we're going to do a background image. If you say image.asset, it'll give you an error, and that's because for some reason you have to use the widget asset image, which is essentially the same thing, but you know. And so instead of writing in the path, we are going to use whatever is just we put in as the image. And so then with the circle avatar, we have the circle avatar now, and we also want to have the radius. I'm just going to put in 30. I don't know what that's going to look like, but we can adjust it after we run it. So then we also want a text widget that has the name of whoever it is. And so then we are going to say style, text style, and we'll do several things. First, we'll change the color to white so you can actually see it. And then let's also, over here, I think I also made the font size to something like 15. And then, yep, that should be good. And then the last thing we need is we need another text widget that has the title, and this is just going to display whatever we input as what we want as the title. And then style, text style again. And so what we're going to use is we're also going to have the color, except I'm going to make the color colors.gray and maybe something like 400. That should be perfect. And then font style can be font style.italic, which is going to just make it kind of like tilted slightly to the side. And then the last thing we need to do is right now we don't have any sized boxes, so it's all going to be smushed together, and that's not what we want. So in between the circle avatar and the first text widget, we'll have a sized box with a height of 15, and then over here we can have another sized box with a height of 10. Okay, so now if I refresh this, it doesn't do anything because all we did is we just made the widget, but we need to actually call the widget and input the values in order to see anything. So now I will have the children function, and we're going to call profile, input the name. First guy is Billy, and he is the CEO of company, just company. So the next thing we need to do is we need to actually grab the image of Billy. So now I already have a Flutter project called Profiles app with an S. Probably should have had more distinct names. But we're just going to grab all the images of Billy, Sally, Samantha, and Jeff, the profiles that we're displaying of people that I just found on Google. And we are going to grab those images and then put them into this Flutter app. We have all our assets here, all the images that we are going to need for our profile pictures. And so now, I can minimize this again. For the image, I'm just going to set the path as assets/billy.jpg. And so one thing that we cannot forget to do is in our pubsec.yaml file, to set the path for the assets file. So uncomment out this assets line of code, and then just add the assets folder like this. And this is basically going to mean that now we can use the assets inside the assets folder. So now if we refresh this, then we should be able to see Billy. Look at that. There's Billy. And now I made the radius a little bit too small. Let's make this 50. Okay, perfect. So now we have Billy. As you can see, he's kind of smushed up against the side right here. But what we're going to do is we're going to add a padding to our grid view. We're edgeinsets.all, and then let's say 15. Amazing. So now we have Billy on our profiles, profiles page, and all we needed to do was just call this profile widget that we created. But here's the magic about creating your own widget and kind of like having the same uniform UI every single time you call a profile widget, is that I can do this as many times as I want. Don't forget the comma at the end. And it will have the same thing. So right now we have a lot of Billies, but we also want the other people, other very nice people on our app. The next person is Sally. Sally is the assistant person. I know this is a very, very amazing title. And just gonna say Sally.png. Pretty sure that's capitalized. Yes, it is. And then if we refresh this, we also have Sally, the assistant person. Next person we have is Jeff, who is the coffee guy. Also an amazing title. And this is going to be fedge.png. You can use any pictures, any names, any titles that you want. You do not have to use the same names or titles as I did. I mean, this might be like an actual professional profile page for your app, but this is kind of showing you the general structure and how you can build it. And the last person is Samantha, who is the co-founder of Company. Just Company, yep. Samantha. Let's refresh this now. Oh, not JPEG. PNG. Make sure you get that right. And now we also have Samantha. So basically, now we have the same app as over here. And some of it might be like a little bit off because I didn't memorize like whether or not I used edge insets and the main axis line, like the main axis padding, cross axis padding, and everything like that. Main axis spacing, cross axis spacing. But this is essentially the same thing as what I showed you before. And you can add as many profiles as you want. Like, this is not restricted to 4. You can add a whole bunch more to your app, and that is perfectly fine. You probably want to put in different people. So basically, this is a tutorial that I made just to show you how to like create a simple app that you can make. But basically, what I'm going to be making more of these tutorials on how you can make simple apps in Flutter, and the reason why is because although the Flutter classes are project-based and you can and self-directed, sometimes it's easier to start off just making kind of simple apps that aren't really the most serious apps. You know, you're kind of just learning Flutter, so that when you do have a project idea down the road and you do want to build an app, then you can pull from all the skills that you learned through making all these simple apps. And if you have an app idea that you would want me to make a tutorial on, I would love to hear from you through Slack, through our website at wequal.school, or just on a comment on this video if YouTube didn't disable them, because I think they disable any videos with kids in them. But basically, that's how you can create your own Flutter Profiles app. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to sign up for our Flutter class that we provide at Wequal School, just go to wequal.school and send us a notification.